Welcome to episode 19 of Secret City Geek Lab, your resource for everything geek. We'll talk movies, TV, comic books, video games, and anything geek. I'm your host, Alan Ng, and you'll hear from me and members of the improv comedy group Secret City Comic Society. This week, we are joined by Joey Shope, Eugene McDonald, Tom Haggard, and Dimitri Pereira. Today's show is brought to you by Secret City Comic Society, the best in all ages improv comedy in downtown Fullerton. Visit Secret City Comic Society and the Geek Lab at secretcitycomedy.com. Coming up on this week's show, World War Z, a movie review, This Is the End, a movie review, Disney stuff, and a whole lot more. Today's show is going to be jam-packed. And we're going to start off with World War Z. United Nations employee Jerry Lane traverses the world in a race against time to stop a zombie pandemic. That is toppling armies and governments and threatening to destroy humanity itself. World War Z stars Brad Pitt and David Morse, and Tom Haggard has his review. I'm with Tom Haggard. What did you think of World War Z?
World War Z was simple, and I thought it was great. I liked it a lot. If you like Brad Pitt, you get a lot of Brad Pitt. It's, the classic. He's fighting for the family and ends up fighting for the whole world.
All right, what did you like about the movie? What were a couple of things?
The effects are awesome, and I like how it's a zombie movie where the zombies actually run. No one's scared of a zombie who stumbles around and can be easily brained by a toddler. These zombies just sprinted. They would climb wall. Nothing could hold them back. They were fast. The disease set in faster. It just made it more scary. It's always scarier when your opponent is more worthy.
More formidable.
Yeah, more formidable. Thank you.
Okay, what did you not like about the movie?
The ending was kind of left you like. It was over. Didn't tie things together very well. Some parts were like, why didn't they figure this out sooner? But other than that, it was a simple, feel-good movie, and it scared the hell out of my girlfriend. And she jumps at a lot of things, but she was legitimately scared at this movie multiple times. And,
right. So from a scale from 1 to 10, what would you give?
I'll give it an 8. I'll give it a solid 8.
All right, great. Thanks, Tom. Mm-hmm. I'm with Eugene McDonald. He got to see World War Z. What did you think?
I think it was one of the worst zombie movies I've ever seen. It has the lamest plot. Every bit about it, the director pulled their punches in terms of the horror or the suspense.
Are you saying this because it's not the traditional slow-walking zombie?
No, I like fast zombies. Okay. Fast zombies are good. 28 Days Later is excellent. No, I saw it with a 12-year-old. Not a single thing in there scared him. No surprises. The plot was as predictable as it could possibly be, and the ending was lame.
Okay. So, do you have any redeeming...
The visuals were stunning. It's excellent effects, but every bit of it that's really worth seeing is in the trailer.
All right, and Eugene's review at secretcitycomedy.com/geeklab. From a scale of 1 to 10, what do you give World War Z?
I'd give it a 2.
You're listening to KTSTFM. I'm Alan Ng, and you're listening to the Secret City Geek Lab. You just heard our movie review of World War Z, and now we're going to move on to our next movie, and that's This Is the End. This Is the End is a American apocalyptic comedy film written by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, and starring Seth Rogen, James Franco, Jonah Hill, Gay Baruchel, Danny McBride, and Craig Robinson as fictional versions of themselves in the aftermath of the global apocalypse. Dimitri Pereira had a chance to see this movie, and this is his review. All right, I'm with Dimitri Pereira, and we have a movie review of This Is the End, starring Seth Rogen,
James Franco, starring Joe.
We should just list the people who are not in this movie.
Okay.
All right. So Kevin Costner's not in the movie.
Yeah, Kevin Kline's not in the movie.
Phoebe Cates.
Phoebe Buffay from Friends. She's not in the movie.
Okay. Oh, and neither is Chandler. Give me a basic plot of This Is the End.
All right. This Is the End is about an apocalypse. They don't state up front what the apocalypse is. Could be anything.
It just happens.
Yeah, it just happens. Suddenly it happens, and all these actors are playing horribly exaggerated versions of themselves. It seems gimmicky. I was ready going into the movie thinking of a title for this review, and it would be, This Is the End of Their Careers. But it wasn't. I was totally surprised by the whole movie. I thought it was wonderful. I thought it was an amazing movie.
All right, what were some things in the movie that made you feel that way? I mean, from a story standpoint, fairly solid story, or was it just kind of skits to move things along and make you laugh?
No, I thought it was a very solid story. I didn't go into it thinking that it would have a solid story. I thought it was...
Well, let's go over it real quick.
Yeah.
So the apocalypse happens. We have our favorite actors, Seth Rogen, Jonah Hill, James Franco, Danny McBride, so on.
Well, in the first couple scenes, everybody dies except a handful of these actors, and they're holed up in James Franco's house. I thought it would just be a stoner comedy, but it really was a satire of Hollywood, I thought. And the fact that they play themselves, horribly exaggerated versions of themselves, seems gimmicky. But the fact is, they were allowed to do so many things with that script because they were playing themselves that you wouldn't normally be able to see or be allowed to do in a movie. For instance, all the product placement. There was product placement for Carl's Jr., Milky Way, all the alcohol that they drank during the movie. All that product placement never seemed forced because it was at his house. It was taking place in the real world. And when they said they love Milky Ways, I'm like, I love Milky Ways too. That doesn't seem like a product placement because these actors love Milky Way.
All right, so the advertisers won.
The advertisers won, and it just wasn't forced. And there's some really gruesome deaths in this movie.
All right, so so first question I have, is it like Superbad, where a lot of language, a lot of vulgar language, so to speak?
Yes. It earns its R rating. There's because it's trying to be very realistic, albeit exaggerated. Yeah, there's so much cussing. There's so much violence in this movie.
And then, like you said, the deaths are pretty brutal.
Deaths are brutal because you're dealing with an apocalypse. And so, I'm not going to spoil what apocalypse it is, but it could be anything from zombies to aliens to biblical to just Obama. I don't know. But it just could, it doesn't actually state.
Okay. So what are some things you didn't like about the movie?
What did I not like about the movie? I loved every bit of it. Right. I loved every bit of it. Kept laughing the whole way through.
No wrong.
The ending is amazing, especially for children of the '90s. The ending was amazing.
All right, so from a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate This Is the End?
It's a 10 out of 10.
There we go.
It's a amazing comedic satire.
All right, great. You're listening to KTST-FM. I'm Alan Ng, and this is the Secret City Geek Lab. I don't know about you, big Disney fan, love Disney. Not recently, a long time ago, back in, I believe, 95, I had my first chance to go to Walt Disney World on a company trip, and I stayed at the Yacht and Beach Club resort there. And if you're like any Disney geek, Walt Disney World is your mecca of existence. It's the place you go to before you die. And fortunately, I was able to go there when I was, in my late 20s. It's that pinnacle. It's the Disney thing that's on your bucket list. You've got to get to Walt Disney World. And since then, because of my company, was able to go there almost every year, multiple times during the year. And when gas prices were a lot better, it didn't really cost a lot to get out there. I love Disney World, and I love the Yacht and Beach Club. Here's a little funny story. While I was staying there, I had a great time as always, and I was getting ready to leave. The valets had gotten my car, and I'm taking my baggage, my luggage, into the trunk of the car. Now, this year is during the election year of George Bush versus Al Gore, and I noticed that there was my car waiting for me right in the front, and there were all these black limos and what looked like to be Secret Service agents at that time. And what was really weird was the fact that no one was moving and no one was doing anything. It was just me, my car, and everyone in their limos, their black stretches, in their Secret Service garb. They were just staring at me. So I'm just loading my luggage into my car, doing it very meticulously, and just getting the strange feeling that people are staring at me, which they were. Again, nothing. It was just me. I was the only person moving this entire time. So I close the trunk, I get into the front seat of my rental, and I pull out, and then all of a sudden, all these cars just spring to life, as if they were just waiting for me to not get in the way of whoever was being, whatever government official was there. If I were to guess, because I was in Florida and Jeb Bush was governor at that time, it had to probably be someone who was related to the Bush campaign. And I'll just take a wild stab and I'll say it was Dick Cheney. I could be wrong, but it could be Dick Cheney. Let's talk a little bit about the Yacht Beach Club. It's one of these luxury resorts. They call it a deluxe resort, which is in between, your value resorts, which is like the all-star hotels, which is basically a bed, a bath, and that's it. In this one, we had 2 queen beds. It was all nautical themed. Had a little computer workstation. Had this amazing bathroom. Had speakers in the bathroom, so you could listen to the television while you're using the bathroom. Nice mini bar, which was incredibly expensive. I believe I spent $4 on some M&Ms and $5 on a can of soda. Love the Yacht Beach Club. It's not quite maybe the Grand Floridian, but if you want some good luxury living, check out the Yacht Beach Club. It is settled right in between Epcot and the Disney MGM Studios or Disney Hollywood Studios. The closest resort next to it is the Swan and Dolphin. Let's see, let's talk about the swimming pool. You mentioned in the little clip that we had, it's a 2-acre pool, sand on the bottom, nice and warm, or I would say that the pool is just perfect for Florida weather. Florida tends to be very humid and muggy. You just want to get wet and have some fun. There's a lazy river trail so that you can just kind of soak while the river takes you around, and there's a cute little water slide. Nothing special, but love the theming on it. The proximity I mentioned to Epcot, it's in within walking distance of Epcot. There are also boats that will take you to the Hollywood studio. I was able to rent, I think they called them Sparrows at the time, but it's a 2-person motorboat, and my wife and I were able to get on there and just drive this boat all throughout that lake. And not only that, we took it all the way down to Epcot, took it all the way to Disney Hollywood Studio, and it was a really reasonable price for the 2 hours that we had it. Also, whenever I'm at Walt Disney World, I go to this restaurant all the time. It's never missed. It's the Cape May Cafe. It's their clam bake buffet. And there's really one reason I go there, and that's for the clams. They have clams. I love clams. There's just an endless supply of clams. Clarified butter. Tastes wonderful. My mouth waters just thinking about it. And there's also seafood and other stuff. Prime rib for my wife, who doesn't like seafood. But Cape May, that's at the Beach Club. If you're into seafood and want to have a great place to eat, Cape May Cafe. This is KTST-FM. I'm Alan Ng, and you're listening to Secret City Geek Lab. Moving along, we have a video game review, and that is of Deadpool. I'm with Joey Shope, and we're going to talk about Deadpool, the video game. Tell me about the game, Joey.
Okay, well, it's a hack and slash based game.
Is there a story to it?
There is. Essentially, the story goes that Deadpool, the character Deadpool, finds out that people are interested in making a video game about him, but he fears that they're not going to make it the way he wants to, so he's coming up with his own things to say, the dialogue, and all the what he wants to do in it. So there is a story. I can definitely say that.
All right. Did you appreciate the story at all?
It's not like it's a story-driven game. It is hack and slash games. They're a very specific type of game. They're press X X Y and then you do this attack. X Y X, you do this attack.
So you hack slash and learn combos.
It's button mashing at its finest.
Okay.
So if you're into that, then I'm sure you'll love Deadpool. But
how did you feel about it?
My problem isn't really the story. I realize that it's a wacky character, Deadpool. I don't know a lot about him. I know, handful of bits of stuff about him. But, I'll say his character's done really well. It's really funny. The kind of side comments that the voice in his brains make throughout the game are really funny too. There's a lot of really funny dialogue and stuff like that. So the characters, I feel, in the game are very solid, and then the story is kind of it's a, hack and slash game, so it's not story driven. There's a bunch of cameos if you're a Marvel fan. Wolverine, for example, comes in there for a little bit. You get to play around with him. Some D and C list villains that I can't really name.
Right. So it sounds like that if you're familiar with Deadpool and like Deadpool, you like the game.
If you like Deadpool more than video games, then you like the game.
Or if you like a game that's reminiscent of the comic book, but not necessarily a great game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I said, if you love Marvel, but you don't like video games that much, and just want to press 3 buttons ever, I don't have an issue with hack and slashing. They do offer more combos. You can have longer ones. Really, my problem with the game was it was just a game to me. I never felt connected to the character.
Didn't feel challenging at all?
Oh, no. One of the rumors I heard floating around about how short the game was, and I thought to myself, surely this is not true. But sure enough, I literally, just to test, I put on a timer, I put it on my phone, had it plugged in, timed myself playing the game, and I said to myself, after 7 hours, surely there's gonna be more game, but like sure enough, 5 hours and 15 minutes in, I'm done with the game. And I'm on normal difficulty. I always go normal difficulty and then play hardcore mode. I imagine the hardcore mode, it would have been more of a challenge, of course, but that's maybe adding 40 minutes more.
So did you like the game? Did you hate the game?
I just don't care about the game. Which is, it's a game.
You went through it and you can forget about it and move on to the next one.
Yeah, it's gonna float off into the video game ether and to be never heard of again, which is a shame because I feel like Deadpool's a really interesting character. They could have done a lot more with it. It's just a very blasé game. For its price right now was $50, and that was way too much. In a month a month and a half, it's gonna be used and probably like $30-$40.
Okay, so from a scale from 1 to 10, what would you rate Deadpool?
6.
All right, thanks. This is Joey Shope talking about Deadpool. This has been episode 19 of Secret City Geek Lab. Come back next week. We got a couple things going on. Comic-Con is coming up. If you go to our website at secretcitycomedy.com/geeklab, we've got some news about what's going on at Comic-Con, panels that are coming up. We recently posted what DC Comics is going to be doing there. Hello Kitty is making their first appearance at Comic-Con. And then also some tips on if you want to get into Hall H. What are some things you can do? For example, probably camping out overnight is not necessary unless you're trying to get into that very first panel and you're really excited about it. Also, a few other things. We also have a page that'll give you events that are going on at Comic-Con that you don't need a badge for, such as myself. Will and Dimitri have badges. They're going to be reporting from within Comic-Con, but I don't have that badge. I don't know what to do. We have a page that gives you a list of dozens of activities you can do at Comic-Con. So, this has been episode 19 of Secret City Geek Lab. Is brought to you by Secret City Comic Society, Fullerton's best all-ages improv comedy. Come back next week for more news and updates in the world of geekdom and nerdity. And visit us online at secretcitycomedy.com/geeklab. Big thank you to Eugene, Tom, Joey, and Dimitri. Until then, have a great week, and we will see you soon.